This conference will now be recorded.
We are just waiting for 6 o'clock. The word
This
has gone out
conference will
there,
now be recorded.
being
This
hosted by
conference
Pan
will now
African
be
IT
recorded.
Forum. And today we're just going to be talking about something that has been an issue, for many job seekers out there. So today we are going to talk about, in a discussion style, we're going to show tips on how to get a job interview, and not just a job interview. We're going to show you how to secure that dream job. So me and Dela is also on the call. We are going to present this, and the way I like to do the presentation is more like a discussion. So if at any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to either indicate, maybe flag by raising up your hand, or just say something and we will bring you in. Reason is I don't want you to forget, although there is a question and answer towards the end, but I believe if you ask it right away, you're actually not going to forget about it. So let me give a breakdown of our outline, how we are going to go today. Just a few touching points. We're going to introduce ourselves, and then Dela will talk about the resume building, because, of course, to get that interview and finally to get a job, you need to actually build up a resume. And then we're going to discuss some of the job listing portals out there. We will talk about the job applications. And finally, we will talk about the job interviews, that is the proper job interviews. And each one, we're going to give out tips. We're going to share personal experiences. We will share industry experiences as well. So with that, I will let Dela kick it off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Della, and my background is in enterprise risk management, specifically internal controls, regulatory compliance, and management reporting. I'm currently a senior ISO, and I have a blended experience in banking and auditing. I'm also a career coach and a mentor, and I started off my career in finance. Then I did a little bit of strategy and operations with a little bit of IT for 5 years for a management consulting firm. After that, I left. I went to work for the Federal Reserve Bank as an IT auditor. Then I went back into banking doing business analysis and then made a lateral transition into cybersecurity. I enjoy traveling, swimming, and reading. Do you want to move on to the
Perfect.
next slide, please?
Yes. Thank you. And just a little bit about myself. Um, I am more or less a senior security consultant, and I've touched almost every part of security out there. And I've been doing this for about 10 years. Talk about the security operations center, talk about malware analysis, incident response, digital forensics, even threat hunting, and a little bit of ethical hacking by the side. So it's just, I get bored too easily, so I tend to move around pretty much. I'm also an instructor at ProSec Institute. It's just an IT company that do cybersecurity SOC analyst training. And just a little bit about myself to show you how I started. I was a C++ programmer. This was back in 2007 for the IRS. And suddenly, somebody was doing something like this, a webinar, and they talked about Oracle database. And from there, I went into DBA for about 2 years. And finally, around 2009, I broke into cybersecurity. And ever since then, I've actually been moving around the industry, that I've been within cybersecurity. And for my hobbies, I love table tennis. And although I've not seen where to play that in this country, but again, I love Cosmos and general knowledge trivia. So with that, we're going to kick off first. And as you all know, just like I mentioned during the intro, to we've all been in this situation, or we know somebody that has actually been in this situation. That what exactly is the situation? They have the right training, they have the certifications, they have certified ethical hacker, security plus, cap, and the rest of them. They have the passion, they have everything that it takes. But the problem still remains that either number one, they don't have an interview. They're not getting the interviews. Their resumes out there, but nobody's calling them. Or number two, people are actually reaching out to them, but when they get to the job interview, they kind of flop it or they are not getting it. And at the point they get tired and they kind of throw in the towel. So today we'll actually cover both, and definitely it's going to start with a resume. So I'll let Dela talk on this part, and then we'll continue.
Great, thanks, Blumi. So I'm constantly asked for advice on how to improve resumes, right? So while there are no magic methods for creating a great resume, we have ground rules on how you can improve your resume and increase your chances of getting contacted by a recruiter or hiring manager. Even with this tips, it's still important to have a good resume, and then learn how to create a resume that requires like little effort, right? So most of the times when I talk to hiring managers and recruiters, they tell me that they only care about two stuff, right? When I talk to them, they're like, we only care about the business problem they're dealing with right now. So you want your resume to communicate that you understand the business pain and you can solve the problem that the company is going through. So that starts off with you customizing your resume and then listing out your accomplishments, right? With those two, you kind of like convey your understanding of the role and the business problems, and then emphasize your strengths on how it relates to the job. Those are a few tips that you can use. And then here are some of my tips on having an effective resume. You need to make sure that you have the right keywords. So you look at the job description, make sure that you have some of the keywords in your resume. And then keeping your resume very short and direct. Most of the resumes that I get have like 3 pages, 4 pages. Recruiters don't have time to look at long resumes because they receive on average 1,000 resumes a day and they only have 30 seconds to review a resume. So you want to make sure that you're hitting your resume with the right keywords and making it very short and sweet. And then I also suggest that you create an original resume template. I'll give you an example where I did a resume for someone and he had shared his resume with a friend, and that resume came to his table. He had to interview that person, and all the person did was like change the name and the contact information. The person didn't get the job, so you always want to make sure you create your own resume and tell your own story. Also suggest use like short bullet points, and then your resume should be readable by the applicant tracking system. So just making sure you have the right buzzwords in there, so that the applicant tracking system can pick up your resume. And then ensure that your resume is consistent with your online profiles, because recruiters will go on your LinkedIn profile and look at your profile and make sure it matches to your resume. I even had a client who told me that the recruiter asked her why she had a 2-month gap on her LinkedIn profile but not on her resume. So recruiters do look at that. So you want to make sure that all this stuff is consistent. And then just do a Google search on yourself. If sometimes you're working in the medical field, something might show up, you could email Google and have them delete that record so there's no traces of what you've done in the past on Google. So I usually tell my clients, hey, make sure you get all this stuff deleted, and then we go from there. Next slide, Blumi.
Perfect. And thanks for that. I heard her mention keywords, and I'll talk about it on the next slide as well. So we'll talk about the job listing portal now. So, just as she mentioned earlier, now that you have that beefed up, that sweet, that delicious resume, it's now time for us to now visit this job listing portals. Now, she mentioned keywords earlier, and although I'm going to talk about it, but let me define what these portals are. Now, these portals, they tend to do most of the job for us. Like it's a one-stop shop. So there are a lot of them out there. They go out there, they aggregate all these job listings, they scrape websites, they go to staffing firms or even other job boards, and they collect all the information basically. So all we need to do is come to a one-stop shop. We put up our beefed up, this nice, sweet resume that we've built from the previous slide. And then from there, we will go on, which I'm going to show you all how to do it. I will actually start up a browser session shortly. But let me run through this quickly. I will talk about the paid ones. And then I think Dela she knows more about the other ones. And we all have our different, favorites. Like for example, me personally, my favorite is Glassdoor and Indeed. But then there are the paid version, and this I use them mostly for remote jobs. So most of the remote gigs I've gotten, they were actually from either flex jobs or virtual vocations. Of course, they are paid, and somebody actually helped me with their own subscription. But that does not mean that if you don't get on the paid version, you're not going to find a job. To be honest with you, from my own analysis, most of the jobs I saw on flex jobs, I end up seeing them on Indeed. Probably like, let's say 1 or 2 days later, I guess that's probably the benefits of the paid job. But let Dela talk about the other one. She seems to have more knowledge on most of the other portals out there.
Sure. So one that I like a lot is ZipRecruiter. I feel like they respond to you much quickly. And then Simply Hired too is a good one. If you have clearance, clear jobs. Washington Post too. A lot of people don't use Washington Post. Maybe New York Times. Those links still advertise for jobs. Hire.com, The Lattice, Stack Overflow, job, Gate Harvest, Crunch Job, and then Tech Careers. And then in addition to what Bumi has listed here, all those work. And then sometimes I just go directly to the company's website. Sometimes those jobs are not even posted on Glassdoor and all those other virtual sites. So if you see a job on, let's say, CACI, like maybe Raytheon, right? You see a job on Indeed, you can still go on their website and then look and see if they have an additional job that you can apply for. And I apply for many jobs. So if you have, let's say, one cybersecurity analyst role, go on and apply for all the other cybersecurity roles because they have different recruiters. So you get hit by different recruiters all the time. Those are some of my tips and tricks. Don't just apply for one job, apply for several.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like keep a good network of people. If you know people working in IT, reach out to them and say, hey, I know you're hiring. Can you refer me to your company? If you have a good networking relationship with a person, they'll refer you because they're going to get paid once you get hired after 3 months. So just having a network, keeping in touch with recruiters, even if a recruiter cannot help you, ask them, do you have any other recruiters that I could talk to? Recruiters know each other very well. So if they can't help you, they could refer someone else to you, and then you can get you can pass your resume along to the other recruiter.
That's true. And honestly, just to add to what she said, the recruiters can also do this. Once you put out your resume, you see them calling as well. And some people tend to forget about things like the messaging forums. For example, the Pan African IT Forum. A lot of people don't visit. Either they visit once in a while, each year, once a day, but jobs can actually come out through there. Now there are Slack channels you can actually add on, and let me show you a bit of this. So I'm in a lot of Slack channels out here, and this is actually Slack channels. You can find a lot of them to actually add on. So let's start off with let me just go with one. You see right here, most of these Slack channels, they have jobs, and as you can see, they have listings. They will post their job listings. I'm into cybersecurity, as you can see. So most of the ones I see here are things like security operation analyst, and once they have it, they put it up. Let me go to another one. This is a threat hunting Slack channel, and on there you see jobs as well. And I've not been here for a while. So they just posted this. Let's see. It's been a while. June 25th. So once they have something, they post it out there. Let me try the next one. It's just too many to visit. I see jobs here. And none, just May 15th. But that's what Slack looks like. You can join these channels and even conferences. I've been to SANS conference, I've been to DebbyCon, I've been to DEF CON, and there are a lot of job postings everywhere, even Twitter as well. So now that you are knowledgeable of these portals, Of course, they can be overwhelming if you try to tackle all of them at once. I normally try to tell people start off with two at a time. Once you take it two at a time, then you start off with two, you start progressing. Before you know it, you're actually on four, five, six. And most of them will, all you need to do is just go and fetch the data and then apply. And the next one, let me show you something called the job search and alert. Now that we've talked about the job portal from the previous slides, what happens when you now get on something like Glassdoor? There is something people don't know or people don't use it. It's something called job alerts. I'm telling you, I've been successful in most of my job hunts because of things like this, the job alerts. What does it do? It's just like an alarm system. Once you find the search criteria that you want, you set a job alert. And then you don't need to worry about once they post a job that fits, I think someone is in a railroad or on a train. But okay, perfect. So it has died down now. So once you create this job alert, once a job that comes in that fits this criteria, they automatically send you an email. And I'll show you in a bit. As you can see, I did a search. This is SOC analyst. I did Washington, D.C. And just look, in 3 days search, I saw all this. And right here on the top right, there is the create job alert. And I'll show you that in a minute. And of course, there is something called apply now. And Glassdoor, Indeed, and most other portals, they have something called the quick apply. So if you're sleeping and a job alert comes in, you take a look, it's what you want. You don't even need to get off your bed. You just simply click on the quick apply. It sends off your resume. So you are among the first people that they are going to interview. And let's quickly, let me drive back and we'll take a look at it. So this is actually the search I did. I just did another one just a few minutes ago. And as you can see, you can search for anything here. To be honest with you, somebody asked me, can they find a remote nursing job? I say, well, let's go and search. And believe it or not, it was right there. I told her to go ahead and create a job alert. So now that I've set up this, SOC analyst, Washington, D.C. And I see here posted anytime. You guys can still see my screen, right? Okay, perfect. And I normally just start off with the last day, You can see the last day in 24 hours, 14 of this has been posted. Now, once I'm okay with this, I simply just hit here. Oh, let me grab a pointer so that you see it. Where is my pointer? Just a minute. Where is it? Okay, right here. Oh, okay, that's sorry about that. I didn't install the program. Okay, let's continue. So on top here, you see the create job alert. When I click on this now, it's going to tell me job alert created because it has my email address. And as soon as the jobs are coming, and I'll show you what it looks like. Let's go here. Let's go to my email. So in my inbox, you see how it comes in. Look, just take a look at this one, 3:52 a.m. As soon as a job is posted and it passes through Indeed, I think they probably show it to the paid members first. I don't know, but maybe once it hits the free market or so, they send you a job alert. And once I look at it, I'm among the very first person or the very first people that will actually send in a resume. And let me share with you just a quick story. So at Dell, where I work at, we decided to do to put up a requisition out there. We created a job, and it was on a Monday. The next day, being Tuesday, we received 83 resumes. And you can imagine, my boss was like, "How? He just posted this just a few hours ago, and 83." And do you know what we do? We had to shut it off, and we had to pick from that 83. So you can imagine those that created the job alerts, they were among the very first people that actually sent this off, and right there is the job for them. And of course, this is Glassdoor. Indeed also has it, and Career Builder as well. So let's head back and continue. Are there any questions at this point, or maybe we'll wait towards the end? So the next one is now the job application. So after you've done all that from the job portals, we created a profile, we found the job that we wanted, we created a job alert, we've applied to some of them. Now, for others that will now direct you to a website or they want you to fill in an application, there are some quick tips I use. Some people tell me, oh, that it takes too much time to fill an application on a website. I told them, well, it can, but there are things you can use, which I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure when I'm done, I'll also let Dela talk about it. I'm sure she might know some quick tips as well. So what I normally do, I use the quick apply feature. Like I mentioned earlier, it's available on most of the job boards. Now, there's something I try to use, and that's the browser's autofill. The browser's autofill will automatically fill everything for me, and I don't have to do much. Let me find something. Let me see, which one will I use? Mantech. Okay, I was just on their website, and where is the application? Just to show you, okay, apply now. There is something called the autofill. The autofill will automatically fill everything in for you. Oh, this is the application, so small. But anyways, if I click here, it fills everything. This is only 3 fields anyways, so I thought it had more. If it had more, it automatically fills everything in for you, and you'll be surprised that you'll be able to knock out in applications within 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It doesn't take time, because I know that's a challenge to some people, the number of times it takes or the length, and then the recruiters can also call you and submit these resumes for you. They will give you a call, tell you, hey, this is you guys arranged, they submitted, and then from there they do everything for you on your behalf. And then finally, before I hand it over, don't be discouraged by the job requirements. Sometimes they will put a whole bunch of job requirements, and let's go back to the screen one more time. I will show you something. I think that was why I had it up here. Foxhole Technology. So Foxhole Technology was the job I was working at before I moved over to Texas. Now, take a look at all these job requirements, required skills, all the dedicated monitoring, event of interest, incident report generation. Somebody might get scared, but guess what? Honestly, the hiring manager does not even know about these things. Most of them don't, because we hand it over to the human resources, and sometimes they go ahead and get a whole bunch of other pre-canned, I will call it pre-canned required skills or requirements, and drop it in there. Somebody might get scared. Somebody called me. There is a small village, or not village now, a small city in Pennsylvania called Wellsboro. So somebody called me. They found a job for Citizens Bank, and when they read the job requirements, they said, oh, no, I can't do it. And then I told them, why not just apply first? Who knows? You might be the only person there, or you might be the only one that actually applied. To cut the long story short, they applied, they went in there, and they told them that only 5 people applied for the job, and they gave it to them. So you see, don't be scared of job requirements. Go ahead and put in the application, and at the right time, you'll be shocked. Let me hand over to Dale. Dale, do you have anything to add to this? You're probably talking on mute.
Sure. So, I agree with you, Booney. Most of the times, the job description does not match what they're looking for. And even with the certifications, it can tell you they're looking for 6 certifications, but you can just have 1 certification and you get the job. So the trick is your resume is 30%, and then the 70% is how well you interview and how well you prepare for the job. So I always tell my candidates, or my clients, make sure you read the job description very well and show the recruiter or the hiring manager how you can you can do the job. And once you do that and show that you're passionate, you definitely get a job. Because I can give you an example. All the jobs that I've applied for, I've never had the experience for it, but I get hired because I know how to talk to recruiters, I know how to talk to hiring managers and tell them what they want to hear. And then once you get in the job, you just learn everything by yourself. That's all I have
Exactly.
to, yeah.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. That's just what it is. I recall, let me tell you the funny story about the Foxhole technology. I recall when I got in there, I told the manager, I called the manager, I was like, wait, is all this what you guys were actually interviewing for? You made it seem like this place was just off the hook. But over there they call us the glorified help desk. We are SOC analysts, quite all right. What do we do? We're just glorified help desk. And the job description, if I've actually run away from it, it was actually the tier three that I applied for. If I run away from it, you can imagine what would have happened. But so that's just it on the application part. Now, finally, let's say you've applied now. Remember, let me recap. You went through the resume building, you went through the job portals, you created a profile, you submitted your resume on the profiles, you created job alerts, you made the application for the jobs, and finally, the job interview is here. Let's walk through some tips on how you can ace that interview. There are so many things so many mistakes people make, but I will share my own view. I will share what I've seen in the industry. And then I will let Della also jump in and share her views and experiences as well. So the very first thing I tell people, research, practice, study. Why do I say this? In my company, I'm the one that does the technical interviews. So when people come up to me and you will see them, they mention all the certifications they have. I've heard certified ethical hacker. I've heard all of them. But now when during the interview, you realize that either they are nervous or they don't know the content. They don't actually know what they're talking about, which is not uncommon because some people, they go through the other way to grab a certification, but not knowing exactly what it entails. But I tell people you have to research. Now, if they tell you that you will be interviewing with John Doe, find a way, and this is what I've always done. I go out there, I research the interviewer. Let me go back to the browser and show you what I did. I hope my boss is not watching, but where is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is, I don't have it. Interesting. Wait, hang on, let me grab it. Okay, let me just type it in. I don't even, let's see. This is not what I wanted. Sorry about that. Let's see. It's just going to send me a quick code. I thought I had all this set up already, so we don't have to waste time. What? So this is perfect. This is LinkedIn. So what I did, my boss, let me just do it real quick. Perfect. So they sent me an email that, I'll be interviewing with him. So what did I do? I went out there and I studied his profile. And what does his profile tell me? This guy loves incident response. He loves reverse engineering. And I see he has been in the industry for 15 years. I kind of went through the things and I said, okay, perfect. Now I have an idea of who's going to be interviewing me. So with that, on the day of the interview, what do you think I did? The parts I'm not too strong in, which he is, I try to stay away from those. But the part that I was really strong, which I know he loves, I kind of brought it up too. So when I mentioned malware analysis, he was quite interested. He was like, "Oh yeah, that he also loves malware analysis," and it kind of became conversation going because I researched him, and then number two, I tried to go through some interview questions. There are a lot of interview questions out there. Try to gather and study these, and it can be your own built-up one. So let me share a quick story. About 9 years ago, I believe, I went for my first SOC job, and I remember it was with U.S. courts. So while I was there, the lady, about 5 minutes during the interview, the lady closed the laptop and she asked me to walk away. I asked why. She said that I'm not here for for a cybersecurity interview. I was very demoralized. But I went home. I began to look over the questions that she asked me. Because I remembered some of it I tried to remember some of it. Now on the next interview I had, it was with HP. Then this other guy began to ask me questions, and guess what I realized? That some of the questions from U.S. courts actually came through in HP. I did not get the HP job because I was still struggling. I was still new in the industry. The third one I did not get, but I began to collect all these interview questions, and I began to say to myself, at a point in time, it's a finite number. It's not infinite. I said at a point I would have gathered enough interview questions that anything they asked me would be there. And guess what? It took me about 5 trials. And on the 5th one, I went, and all the questions they asked me was what I studied for. And from there, I broke into the industry, and that was just it. That's why I tell people, please try to record your interviews. Get an app on your phone, record it. Don't rely on your humans, on your brain, because after the interview you might be stressed or you might be tired. Record it so that you can go back and go through the questions over and over again. Practice it. There are questions that always come up, and this is the tell me about yourself. Always try to nail that, because first impression matters. Nail it in any way you can. If possible, write it out, say it in front of a mirror, make sure you nail that one, because that's like the icebreaker, and honestly, it comes out in every interview I've been to. So if you're able to package something, make it 2 minutes long, not too long, from there, you can, the interview would definitely go or lean towards your favor. Let me see if Della has any experiences to chip into this as well.
Sure. So, tell me about yourself, right? I usually I do it about 2 minutes, but then when they ask you about tell me about your job role and everything, you go into detail. So you want to spend at least 10 to 15 minutes talking about yourself. Once you've done that, they only have a 15-minute window to ask you additional questions. So talk, but don't just talk and talk, but make sure it makes sense. Talk about what you can do to help the company, and just add your strengths to all that that you talked about. And then you also try and leave 5 minutes for questions and answers. So then they don't ask you a lot of questions. So they only have 10 minutes to ask you questions. Once you talk about yourself and they ask you the next question, talk about your day-to-day work, and talk about the whole RMF process. You're talking for 10 minutes, they'll know that you know what you're talking about. Once they know you know what you're talking about, they stop asking you questions. But when you start second guessing yourself and you're not confident, that's when they start asking you lots of questions. And sometimes they know the first 5 minutes, when someone is credible. So if the interview only lasts for 10 minutes, you didn't do a good job. But I always tell people, take that as a learning experience, jot down the name of the questions that they asked you, and then go practice it till you get better. So by the 3rd or 4th interview, you should have mastered the kind of questions they ask you, and then go from there. And don't think of it as an interview. Think of it as a conversation. Like I'm talking to my friend, and they're just asking me questions. That makes you feel a little bit more confident. And then just practice with someone. Make sure that you can just call a friend and say, hey, can you ask me some interview questions? You can go online, Google interview questions, let them ask you, and then give you feedback. And then once you do that, you get a job.
Perfect.
But the key word is confidence and know what you're talking about.
Yes. That is
And most
true.
of the time,
You
these
need
hiring managers don't know. They don't even know what they're talking about. They're looking to you to come and give them, help them out. So once you show that you're confident, you will get a job.
That's true. That's true. And that is exactly what it is. You're going against tens, hundreds of people. You have to package yourself well. If possible, do mock interviews with people. Do this all the time, and you will get it. Honestly, to tell you guys the honest truth, I was a very shy person. I hated interviews. I was extremely nervous. But what actually made me this confident was actually webinars. And that is the truth. Not that I'm trying to force anybody to do webinar, but I started doing webinars, 30 minutes webinars of things I started with Excel. I will show people how to do the Excel formulas, calculate the Excel formulas, and they will say, like, oh, wow, I never knew that. Just I started by little webinars here and there, presentations here and there, local gatherings, and from there, the confidence started to build up. I was building up that confidence, and now interviews. I love interviews because I just go to interviews just to gather questions, And let me share uh, one more thing with you, where it is okay. No, it's just me gathering my questions, and of course, it's not just mine, of course, and this is just a whole bunch of questions. Of course, I'll probably let me remove the names so that and you see, these are questions. These are cybersecurity questions, and honestly, over 200 questions I've gathered. And before you know what's going on, if you go to the next one of the questions will actually be there. I shared with someone the link, and do you know what happened? He went for an interview, came back and told me that the interviewers stole my question. This was how he put it. Question. I said, what do you mean? He said that the exact question I gave him is what they asked him. I said, no. That means that I probably got the questions or somebody else got the questions from them. I mean, they didn't steal from me, definitely not. But the thing is this, we use it to our own advantage. If they are not able to recreate or manufacture new questions, they're going to use the previous ones for so if you start gathering it after 3 or 4 interviews, trust me, you will nail it on the next one. So with that said, we are coming up to the end of the presentation, and okay, yeah, we are coming up to the end. It's just to for those of you that are on the forum, the Pan African IT Forum, I do have another webinar coming up. It's going to be solving complex cyber attacks using deep level log analysis and correlation. Basically, this will cover what a SOC analyst will do. So I will bring a real life case, a real life scenario, a real life malware compromise, and we all will solve it together. So everybody will solve it together, and then we are going to solve that case. So that's part of the upcoming webinars, and I think the admin will point it out once it gets there. And the rest are the ones I plan on giving as well. I'll pass it over to him. So at this point, let's go ahead and entertain any questions, if there are any.
Hi.
And yes, please, you can start off too by telling us your name, and then
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Brafi.
Yes.
And my question goes to Tella. She said
Okay.
something. You said something about LinkedIn, like deleting your former, like if you had a previous detail that does not correlate with what you're actually doing now, you contact Google to delete the account so that your recruiter doesn't find anything on LinkedIn that is not related to what you're doing. So how do we go about that? And the second question, the second question goes to Bunny. The second question goes to Bunny. Bunny, you talked about the autofill. How do we go about that also? Thank you.
Okay.
Bella,
so So you can just type in your name. So you can type in, Ron, Joe Doe, right? And then it'll list a bunch of stuff with you. Sometimes you show stuff, sometimes you don't show stuff, but everything should be on the first page. So what you do is that you click on that link, and then it says contact us. So you click on contact us, and then just tell the administrator. There's an email that you use. So just say, can you please copy the link from Google and just say, can you delete this record? And they'll delete it for you. So I'll give you an example. I'd applied for a job like out of state, and then the recruiter said, "Oh, why do you want to move out of state? I know you have a family and you have kids." Because one of the hospitals had written a document about me, right? So recruiters do go check stuff about you. And I mean, I've talked to so many people, even like your LinkedIn profile. Let's say you were a business analyst, just code it to consultant. So once you put consultant, that's fine because you were already working in a different field before. So once you say consultant, everybody understands you could do government consulting here. So just keep it generic, like consultant. Don't. It's fine to put consultant, but then put like a cybersecurity analyst on your resume. That's fine. But having like, let's say I know someone who was doing finance, right? And she put that she was a cybersecurity analyst on her resume. I knew she was lying, so I called her up. I think she didn't even pass it. She didn't pass the public trust. I called her up. I told her delete your LinkedIn profile, and I think 3 days after she lost her job. But I'm sure the investigator went and checked and saw that it didn't match, so she lost her job. So they do look at stuff. I even have a client who came to me and said, "Oh, when they came to do my background check, they asked me why I deposited $5,000 in my account in 2001. They're not supposed to go back past 7 years. Everything you do in America is tracked. So you have to make sure that you keep a clean record. Because these people will go back and look for details about you."
Okay. So what you said I should just type like my name on Google?
Yeah, you can contact me after this.
Okay.
Booney could send you my information.
Okay.
Contact me,
Okay.
and then I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely be contacting you as well. I would like to learn that. Yeah, go ahead.
Please, how can we contact her, please?
The admin will be able to send out the information. So I will pass all the information to the admin, and I think he will drop it on the Pan-African IT Forum group on Telegram. So in case you've not joined the group, please do so. Please do so.
How do we join?
How do you join it? That's a good question. Let me see if I can type here. But let the next question come. I will type it on here. I think.
When I asked a question for you also, but you've not answered.
That's true. Sorry. Thanks for reminding me. Old age, I tend to forget a lot these days. So let's go ahead and he's talking about the auto fill. For those that missed the question, he wanted to know how do we set up the auto fill? Because I mentioned that you can actually knock out most of these interviews in 2 minutes by using something called the auto fill. Auto fill automatically is on the browser, and so I'm using Chrome now. It's if you go on the settings on your Chrome, under settings you will probably see something. It took me to the other side, which you can't see. So I just have to bring it back here for you to see. So right here you see where it says the autofill, right? And autofill, if you click on address, just because of PII, who knows? I just wanted to keep that. But if you click address here, you can add in your address, your home address. You can add in a whole bunch of information that you want to add in. And now when you get on a browser, it will automatically fill it in for you. And you can have more. Yeah, you can have different names, like different names, different aliases, and different addresses if you want to. Yeah, it makes life easy. Any other questions?
Hello. Maybe
Hello?
you just type the name of the forum. I mean, the name of the forum.
Where is the chat? Please pardon me. I'm new to GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is new to me. I don't know where I can find the chat, but the admin might be able to type it. Where do you find it?
Oh, the chat is right under the
top.
attendees. So that you see the attendees and then you see the chat. I can do a screenshot and send it to you on WhatsApp real quick.
Okay.
And also, whilst he's sending this to him, also make sure you're truthful when you fill out your public trust, because once you tell a lie on that, you're not gonna get a job for a while. So always tell the truth. You can have bad credit. You can just tell the truth. So first you show them that you're making an arrangement to fix what went bad, they'll give you a second chance. But never lie on your background check. I've had a lot of stories when people have lost their jobs, so always be truthful when it comes to that.
I have a
And
question.
if you have a gap, on your resume, you can tell them that you had to take care of personal matters or something like that, but never lie.
I have a question.
Hello. I just added the. I just added the link to the chat. For those that have not joined the Pan African IT Forum, please go ahead, click on the link in the chat, and go ahead and join us. So somebody asked ladies first. Let the lady go ahead and ask.
Okay. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, Dee. Thank you so much for the very insightful session. So I have a quick question about one of the points you have on your list there about, how to circle the interviewer back to your comfort zone. So if you could just, give a scenario or a quick example of how to do that, I'd be really grateful. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So just to use the last scenario whereby I realized that my comfort zone is malware analysis. So I know that there may be different careers, different professions, and different specializations here, but I tend to focus on cybersecurity more. But what happened was that my comfort zone is ransomware and malware analysis. So what I do on most of my interviews, I start off by just mentioning, just a little bit about myself. Then towards the end, reason being that, the human brain, we tend to pick things first, the few words, and then we tend to concentrate on the last part. So towards the end, when I start my finally, I will now tell them something like, finally, if at the point of my investigation, I see a malicious file, I can perform things like static and dynamic analysis of malicious file. You see, so at that point, the last thing they're going to remember me saying is malware analysis, malicious file analysis, static and dynamic analysis. And in most of the cases, I've realized that the interviewers, they turn around and begin their questions from the last thing I said, which of course is now my comfort zone, and of course I will win them in that part. So that's what I've actually noticed. And you can't blame them much. Sometimes when we do interviews over the phone, who knows, we are playing Candy Crush and the person is talking left and right. Finally, we'll just pick the last thing that they said and we'll start from there. You can't blame us much, but that's how I tend to move the interview to my comfort zone so that they can focus on what I'm much more comfortable with.
And to add to what Bumi just said, you don't need to know everything in cybersecurity, right? There are people who've been in the field for 20 years and they don't know, excuse my French, Jack, but you just showing that you're passionate. So when I went in, I was a BA. The manager knew I was a BA and asked me, why do you want to get into cybersecurity? I said, okay, I'm taking the certifications. The field is growing. And he gave me a job. I mean, it was that simple. I didn't even lie on my resume. You just have to tell them you're passionate about it. Trust me, there's so many jobs out there. They can't even find qualified people. And sometimes they're just looking for someone with just a little bit of knowledge that they can train, and then you get the job. So I've had people who don't lie and they still get jobs. It might take them a longer time, but just showing that you're passionate. Doing research, they can even ask you, what journals do you read? Keep up with the trends. Read every day. Just spend 20 minutes a day reading about cybersecurity. And when you start impressing people like that, they know you're serious. But if you come in and you don't even know what CIA is, and you have to know like the basic stuff. You can even know what CIA is. You just need to know the basic stuff, and you'll be able to get a job. They're not looking for the right or wrong answers. They're looking at how you answer, how you compose yourself, how you communicate, and then just do yourself a favor. After you're done with the interview, tell them, I'm very interested in the job. What is the next step? And then get their email address, send them a thank you letter, say, I really enjoyed interviewing with you. This is how I can benefit your company. It's all about BS. But once, if you know how to play the game, you will get a job.
Yes, that's true.
Thank
You
you
have
so much.
to do it. So she is perfectly right. A student of mine went for an interview, and from what the feedback she gave me, she said that most of the questions she did not answer well, but they kind of loved the fact that she's outspoken and she was actually speaking through these things, you know. And when the whole thing is done, they gave her the job. So sometimes you just have to know how to speak and how to present your ideas. Yes. Next question.
Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I copied the link you sent to the chat room.
To the chat? Yes.
Where can we paste that?
Just download this app they call Telegram.
I do have Telegram. I've been trying to.
You have Telegram? Then just man, that will require some technical expertise. I think if you click on the link, it should join you to the group. That's what I thought.
I'm not really sure if the link is complete.
Can I help you? Somebody just resend the right link, and that one is working, so you can go check it out in the chat.
Okay. Head back to the chat and then type the one. Yeah, use the one from Esther. Okay, that one is the right link.
Awesome. Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I probably didn't copy it right. And somebody asked from the chat room, Dela, do you mentor? And I believe earlier she did say that she's actually a mentor as well. So I'll let you answer that, Dela. Somebody's asking if you mentor.
Sure, I do mentor. So what I do is I have a one-on-one with the clients and talk to them about what you want to do, right? And then just based on their background, I tell them, get into this in cybersecurity. So I had one person who had studied legal studies, right? Worked at a bank, and I said, why don't you get into privacy? So when she had the interview, I coached her on what to tell the interviewer. I told her, tell them you don't have any background in privacy, but you do work on privacy controls. So, right? So they came back to her and said, okay, we don't have a job for you, but if we have one, we'll call you. 1 week later, they called her and they told her that, they just talked to her. And the recruiter called her afterwards and told her, okay, I need you to study all this stuff, know what a SON is, know what a PI is, how to be the PM. And she got the job. And then she was calling me, freaking out, I'm not going to get the job. They haven't called me. I said, don't worry. HR doesn't communicate with the PM. They take their time, and she got her offer letter. She's doing so well now. She started in January. So I coached her from start to finish. So I look at your background and then I talk to you for 5 minutes. After talking to you for 5 minutes, I know where you'd be a good fit, and I tell you, go do this, go do this. I have a client who doesn't talk a lot. So I told him, going to vulnerability management, just do like continuous monitoring because you don't talk a lot. And so this will be a good fit for you. So I'm trying to get someone to coach him in that area. And I kind of like talk to you, look at your resume. Most of the times people post their resume after they're done with the class, and there's so many lies on the resumes, and then I have to do rework, redo their resume, and then have them use different email addresses so they don't see their identity. So there are so many things that you can do, and it's not too late. So if you need help with the resume part, contact admin, and then you can get my number from him. But I do help people look for jobs and stuff too, and then mentor them when they get a job.
A question. Thanks for that. And yes. And for those that just 1 second, for those that don't know, I've heard the testimonies. You know, when they call her the resume guru or the resume goddess or people think that we're actually trying to blow the trumpet, but to be honest, that's just an understatement. She has helped people with the resume, and actually the testimonies they've shared with me, I can definitely vouch for that. But go ahead and share go ahead and ask the question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I just want to ask for those who might want to volunteer or do internship or stuff like that, what do you advise? How can they start?
So it depends on what you have on your resume, right? If you said you have 10 years experience on your resume, why do you want to do an internship? So we can strategize that, kind of like shorten. You can just have like your original resume and then look for an internship. There's so many internships out there. There's so many grants out there. Even with COVID, there's so many programs that are just teaching you classes for free. So we can strategize based on what your background is. I can't give you a specific answer right now, but I just need to see your resume, see where you're coming from, and then we go from there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. So another question, just let me go through the chat real quick. I think the questions were being posted in the chat. Somebody asked, how long does it take to be approved for public trust? Dee, you can go ahead with that.
It depends. It depends. So I used to be in government consulting 10 years ago, and then I left. I went to the private industry. I went to banking. I came back. It still took them like 2 years for them to approve my public trust. But when I got my secret clearance in 2011, it took only 3 months. So it just depends. I think sometimes it also depends if you've traveled outside the country. That's a factor. And if you read some of the job descriptions, they will not even hire you if you've been outside the country for 6 months, just because it takes longer for them to do the background search on you. So everything depends. I've also had people who've worked for USAID, they got their clearance in 3 months. Everything depends on the individual and how many. I think it depends on if you move, change your addresses all the time, it just takes them a longer time to do it. And for me, currently, they even asked me, they couldn't verify my school information, even though I went to school in Boston. I just sent them my certificate, and then they just they said you passed your background check. So it just all depends. It could take, if you're getting secret for DHS, it could take 7 months, 8 months. Everything depends. There's no specific answer.
Perfect. That's true. And Oscar is asking, so Dee, do you help to build resumes in any IT field?
Yes, I do resumes for all fields, nursing fields, everything.
Perfect. And let's see, somebody's asking as well. Okay, Oscar is also asking, so how do you get those questions if you're on a face-to-face interview? Oh, perfect. That's pretty much easy. First of all, the first thing I do is I put I'm hearing an echo. But what I do is I put my phone on do not disturb mode or airplane mode, and then I put on the recording app, and I throw it inside my pocket. For ladies, you can throw it inside your purse. Basically, that will record everything. Nobody will call you during that time, and once you come out, you will have the recording, and that's the way I do it. There may be other ways, of course, and what app do I use? Is just this app. Let me show you. For those that have iPhone, I think I can, wait, let me see if people can see it. Let me turn on the camera. I think that might be better. I don't know if my camera is showing. Is my camera even showing? Probably not. Okay, never mind. There's something called the recorder.
I see your house.
Okay, I can't see myself, but it's right here. I don't know if you see the recorded app. Is a very nice app, honestly. It converts to WAV, MP3, and it syncs flawlessly with the messaging apps as well. It has
Is it free?
As well.
Is it free?
Yeah. Yes, it's free.
The recorder. Okay.
It's free. It's free. Yeah.
So for iOS users, the recorder.
Yeah. Yeah, for iOS users, definitely the recorder. For Android users, switch to iPhone. Sorry about that. Let me see. So Tony is asking, okay, no, it's moving so fast. Fatima is asking, how do I check my public trust status? And looks like we're coming to the end of the presentation. This might be the last one. Della?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah. Did they ask the question? I didn't hear.
Yes. Fatima is asking, how do I, oh, it moved. How do I check my public trust status?
You can check it. They don't usually tell you. Sometimes they're good about telling you, okay, you've passed it. Sometimes they don't say anything. If you don't hear from them, that's good news. But if they have questions, they'll reach out to you and ask you questions.
Okay, perfect. And look, man, thank you for confirming that the recorder exists for Android as well. So Android users, yeah, you got it. The recorder is on there. It's a very nice app. Go ahead and download it. And we are coming to the end of this. Quickly, I'm just gonna just put one more thing out there. I think it's just a flyer, which of course, you know what, I'll leave it. On the 21st, I'm doing a presentation on the 21st, and it's going to be on cybersecurity. I'll put up the flyer. So with that, I just want to say, if there are any more questions, please join the Pan-African IT Forum. Dela is on there. I'm on there. You can ask the questions on there. Or if you go to the chat room, I actually dropped my number there. If you text me, I can definitely pass over Dela's number, over to you as well. So with that, we've just 3 minutes past our time. I just want to say thank you guys for joining. And if there are any more questions, please ask